So hello everyone, I'm Tofu, welcome back to Ewetopia, my all-sheep island, and today we're going to be doing a couple of builds. So we're going to be doing a little mini neighbourhood build, and just a little build around the campsite on the beach. So firstly let's head over to the neighbourhood and jump into the build, shall we? So to anyone that's new to my channel, my videos, or this island in general, this is my all-sheep, no terraforming cottagecore island. So yeah, I'm trying to challenge myself with the no terraforming because I've never done it before, and cottagecore is kind of my safe space. But this is going to be my little neighbourhood build. So I have previously moved 2 villagers in. I believe it's Dom and Kashmir. I'm just going to double check because actually I'm not too acquainted with all their homes. Okay, so it is indeed Dom and Kashmir. But I generally do a little bit of pre-planning, so I put down all the paths. These green dots and pink dots are for where various trees and things are going. And yeah, obviously I like to put down various codes just to know exactly where everything's going. I try and put everything in order just so it's a relatively easy process to do the build. Anyway, that being said and done, let's jump into it. So I'm firstly going to just do the areas around the homes, and then I'll move on to the areas kind of closer to the river. But we're going to be mostly putting down some fencing just so that, you know, villagers won't randomly fall off the cliff. Not that I'd imagine that would be an issue, because obviously, you know, their pathing is pretty good. They're not just going to randomly fall off. But, you know, I also like to be kind of realistic in that you're not just going to have an open cliff on an island. But with this being cottagecore, I want it to feel very cozy, very natural, just like a very pleasant place to kind of live in this area. So yeah, hopefully it will match the rest of the island's vibes. But there's going to be lots of trees, lots of plants. I'm going to first just put down this bike, and that's what I imagine that Kashmir gets around on. I suppose it doesn't really matter which way it faces. I would have liked it the other way, but honestly it doesn't really matter. And let's bust out our shovel. Okay, right, so I do like to try and put things in order, like I said. I think it just makes it a little bit easier for me, and yeah, just means I'm messing you guys around a lot less. Doesn't always work like that. Sometimes I just don't plan certain things, so trees don't go in the places that I necessarily want them to. You know, things like that. There's always got to be some level of chaos in one of my builds or my videos. It's just the way it goes. Okay, so we're going to have a random white mum here. The build that I was running through just at the start of the video, or just to the right of this, was my natural wedding build. Oh, we've just got Kashmir just popping out of her home. Hopefully she's not going to go fishing right in the area I'm building in, but you know, that would also be very typical of the villagers and what they do. She definitely is. Kashmir, that's so annoying. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to deal with it. Like, the reason I wanted an all-sheep island was because, honestly, the only sheep villager I had for the most part was Stella. I got Wendy briefly in my very first recorded island, but that was all I'd ever had. And actually, as far as the sheep designs, I really do like them, and so I wanted to just have an entire island based on sheep. Like, I think all the designs are cool. Honestly, and I have said this plenty of times, I think the weakest design is probably Kashmir here, just because I don't necessarily like that kind of off-green. But I wanted to give her a chance. Like, it feels only fair that I do so. Like, there are plenty of villagers that I have not liked in the past, or just not liked their design, and then I've had them on a previous island, and they've actually really grown on me. Kashmir is kind of being annoying. I need to place a tree down in this dot here, so I'm going to try and talk to her, just try and budge her out of the way a bit, so maybe jump cut to when I've done that. Okay, so I've managed to just nudge her out of the way without causing too much of a kerfuffle, which is good. I'm going to pick up that weed because I'm not even sure why it's there. I assume it's just popped up during one of my time skips, just to make it into the day. It is unfortunately raining, but you know, that's just the way these things go. Let's move on to this little section here. Hopefully, again, Cashmere won't get in my way too much, but we'll see. She was pretty compliant when I was just nudging her out of the way. I didn't want to make her mad, because, you know, I feel that's always just pretty mean if you're doing that. But I don't like bashing the villagers around the head with nets and things, and intentionally trying to upset them. It's just, you know, it's meant to be a cozy game. You can obviously get stressed when you're doing villager hunts and you've used up like 120 tickets or whatever, and you haven't found the one you want, but I'm not going to go out of my way to purposely just upset the villagers. Like I said, I think it's just mean. Not really nice. But here we're going to have just a little rest area. Obviously there's going to be a nice bench. I am going to put down a, where is it, tiny library. If I could back up and actually place it where I wanted to, of course. I do want to say a massive thank you to Mumsy, my wife, if you don't know, because she provided this tiny library for me. I didn't have the recipe for it, which was kind of annoying, and I desperately wanted the item, and she was yeah, kind enough to donate it to the cause. But we're going to have just a small reading section just in between the homes. Obviously we've got the fence so they can't just wander off into the vast ocean below. I wanted it very red in this little section here anyway, which is fabulous. Obviously we're going to then move on to this small section here, and then we'll move on to the area nearest to the river. So firstly we're going to put a bush here just to separate obviously the fence and yeah, a various walkway area. Got a couple of trees, so we'll just get rid of these green dots. I do need to get into a habit of just putting down the trees and actually seeing if they do go, because there is, like I've said, an occasion where I will try and put down a tree and it doesn't like it. Like if there's cliffs and they're too close, or they're too close to the river, something like that. I should really just play test everything. But I get lazy, I get confident, and sometimes I think, oh, it'll be fine, and it doesn't always work like that. Okay, so that is the general vibe around the homes. So obviously you've got the party arch on either side, you've got this little path leading up to both homes, and obviously this beautiful resting area. And this is Cashmere's little bike area just to go through. Cool, obviously on the right hand side will take you to the wedding space, which is run by Willow. And on the left will be undeveloped area so far. Right, I am going to grab a lot more furniture, trees. Hopefully Cashmere will decide to move again because she's just in the way. But jump cut to when I've got more furniture, and we'll start on this little area here. Okay, so I am back. So let's jump into this little section here. And there's a couple of things that I just need to say, I guess. Massive thank you to everyone that has recently subscribed to me. So in my last video I did just add a little thing at the end of the video asking if people could subscribe, because I was pretty much straddling the 1,700 mark. I hadn't quite pushed over that yet, and so yeah, I just asked if people would be kind enough to subscribe, and plenty of people have done that, and I'm now well enough over that to not just randomly drop down, because occasionally you go up to like 1,700 and you don't want to then celebrate too early, because occasionally you'll just lose 1 or 2 subscribers, and I would feel pretty silly doing that. But yeah, I'm in a safe enough space now, so massive thank you to everyone that has subscribed recently. And to anyone that obviously did watch, I guess, any of my videos recently, I have mentioned quite a few times that I am struggling with a entrance build on my rainbow themed island. That is still the case, honestly, which is kind of why I'm doing this build, or a couple of builds really. I'm just in the mood, and because like I'm so close to finishing this island, it really motivates me, and the rainbow themed island I'm just really struggling. Like I said, I definitely need to jump on a few colourful islands and just kind of get in the right headspace and try and find some decent inspiration as to what to do for that entrance, because I really just don't know what to do. And it's kind of a mixture of just not having the right furniture, not having a great deal of storage space, all of that is kind of contributing. So I have definitely improved my storage and like upgraded my home a couple of times, so that will hopefully help. I can go to Treasure Islands, try and find just a decent menagerie of furniture, colourful furniture that obviously, and just try and make something work. I should just start throwing things down, seeing what combination of furniture, flowers and other things that I really like. Anyway, moving on to obviously the bit of the build here that we are doing. I have done this previously on this island, but being an all sheep island, I did want a small section for a little sheep pen. So I'm just going to go into the custom designs here, and we're going to use one of these fabulous sheep designs that I've used previously, just on these umbrellas. And we just obviously twist it. Look how adorable these are. Oh, you people are so talented when it comes to the custom design codes. I wish I could do something this good. But anyway, we're going to obviously put down a couple of these, because a sheep pen with only one sheep would be pretty sad. So I was thinking something like 3 sheep. Feels like a decent amount of space for just like 3 to have. Obviously you've got the running river, so there's plenty of fresh water. But we are going to pen them in, just so I'm going to put a tree in this little space here. So obviously before I do that I need to put down another sheep. I keep hitting the wrong button because I'm a fool. There you go. So this one, eventually when I spin it around, there you go. This one's having a little nibble on the hay that obviously we provided. This one's near the cherry tree, and this one's just chilling out, as you do. Let's bust out our shovel and we'll box them in. Like I said, just with another tree. I did want everything to feel pretty natural. Grand. And obviously this provides plenty of shaded space for the trees as well, so that obviously when it's too sunny, then they can just hide under the tree, have a nap, do whatever they need to do. Do the various sheep things. And now we're going to move on to obviously this little picnic blanket area here. So very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore all of these wheat fields. And I'm looking for the strapped books. Fantastic. So much like this, I want this to be a small kind of relaxation area, a little place where you can just hide away, read a book, enjoy the sounds of nature. With obviously there'll be plenty of trees, as you can see by all the dots, and the flowing water. And honestly, that's definitely one of my favourite things to do. Just hang around anywhere that's got flowing water. I find it really, really relaxing. But let's throw down some of these wheat fields, and hopefully they'll all go in the rough place that I want them to go. That being said, I messed up immediately. There's a very specific pattern that I wanted, so we'll try and get that in the right way. And obviously anyone that's watched my videos before know that I love wheat fields. They are like one of my favourite items, and I use them so much in just pretty much every island I have. But obviously the fact they work on the half tile as well is a bit of it's a blessing and a curse, because it means I've got to then do the weird awkward shuffle that I was just doing there to try and get them in the place that I want them exactly. But obviously it gives you a little bit more freedom, just because you can place them kind of exactly where you want them. You don't have to just place them on this particular grid system. Oh, and we've now got Dom, who's popped out of his home. Hopefully he's not going to also just bother me, but it wouldn't surprise me. It tends to be the villagers' way to obviously get in your get up in your face when you're doing a build. So unlike this obviously space in between the homes, I really wanted this particular reading space, this little picnic blanket, to feel really enclosed, like it's almost your private space. Well, definitely between Dom and Kashmir, so they'll know about it. I'm not necessarily sure that anyone else, like any of the other sheep villagers, will know about it on the island. But I do like mixing up the various colours of wheat as well. I will have to put down a lot of trees, but I didn't have enough inventory space, so these 3 were literally all I had, and there's about 7 or 8 trees left. So we're just going to dot the various remaining bits of furniture, flowers and what have you, just around, before I go and grab the trees and finish this little section off. I do have a couple of bits of hedges left, so let's actually grab them. and that's just going to be here, so hopefully that will block off the access to just stop any villagers walking through the wheat fields like this. Obviously there will be a tree here and a tree here, which will naturally work as a bit of fencing as well. I have a couple of the log stakes, which I love using as furniture, especially as any kind of cottagecore rebuild. I think it just looks so good as a kind of knee-high fence, honestly. But yes, so good as an item. And it's generally one of the first ones you get, isn't it? Because it tends to be, I think, one of the gimmies when you're trying to do the free plots, when you first get your villagers. And what else have I got? I've got a white mum. Interestingly, I'm not sure where that white mum is going to go. Obviously I need a space for this stunted tree, so we'll put it here. We'll have a bush just here. Pink azalea, why not? We'll have a bush here. We'll go with the red hibiscus. And that leaves a yellow hibiscus somewhere. That won't go there. In fact, we'll pick up that flower and we'll put the hibiscus there instead. Fantastic. And we'll just put the white mum here. So we don't have, even though there's obviously two white mums in a row, we'll have a tree here that's kind of blocking this one off a little bit, but you'll see that from this angle when you're just running through. You won't see the white mum down below. So there's not too much of the same colour all dotted in one space. So fabulous. I'm now just going to run off, grab the various trees and finish this area off, and then we'll head over to the beach build. So jump cut, see you in a second. Okay, so final stretch regarding this little area. So let's obviously throw down some trees. I do like mixing up the trees. I don't necessarily like having too many cedars, like too bunched together. I really prefer the hardwood trees when it comes to the cottagecore feel. But I do like dotting just the occasional fruit tree. So we've got cherries are my natural fruit on this island. And so I use a lot of them. I try not to mix other fruits too much. There is a space where I've got a few pears and things on this island. But for the most part, yeah, it's mostly cherries. Let's just put, I guess, another one of these cherry trees here. So this tree is going to have to be a cedar, and then we'll use the, obviously where the pink dots are, we'll place down these stunted hardwoods. But hopefully this is giving the vibe, the feels that I wanted, the very enclosed space. So it definitely is your own private reading area. Obviously it's hidden by the wheat fields, you're completely surrounded by trees, and then you've got the river on the south side as well. Just kind of closes you in a little bit. Definitely feels like you're reading sanctuary, if you will. So that does block the books off a little bit, but at the same time you can see them, obviously from every other angle that really matters, because you're not going to be obviously floating over the river. So that's absolutely fantastic, in my opinion anyway. Hopefully you guys agree. I'm going to put down the nursery tree first, just to make sure that obviously it's stunted, but I don't want to then block myself in, and that would be a classic Tofu move. Cool. So we've got a little stunted tree that doesn't block off, again, the access to the homes or anything that I've done previously. I might just move that green mum, just so that you can see it just as you're walking by. So let's just place it here. Cool, so you definitely get to see that a bit more. Obviously it's just a little bit blocked, as you can see by my player character that's just kind of disappearing behind that tree. But this is my mini neighbourhood build, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed what I've done so far. And obviously we've got the little sheep pen just to the right, so Kashmir and Dom are going to take in turns to look after these little guys, and obviously have their own little reading area. And here we have the adorable Stella that kind of started the entire sheep island just because of how much I love her. And definitely someone that I kind of adopted from Mumsy. Mumsy had her first and absolutely loved her. I then managed to find her in a villager hunt and for just a previous non-recorded island, and I loved her as well. And yeah, Stella is the reason that Sheep Island exists, so big clap for Stella. But obviously big thank you to Mumsy as well, because yeah. Anyway, enough rambling now. Let's run over to the beach section and obviously get that little build done as well. And yeah, just edge a little bit closer to this island being completed, shall we? Excuse me, Stella. You're just right in the way. You're adorable and I love you, but you're in the way. Okay, fine, I'll go the other way. Okay, so the south beach here, just around the campsite that obviously I have previously built, is where we're going to be doing this another mini build. And as you can see, like previously, I've put down a few codes just in preparation for everything. And yeah, I still really am happy with my campsite build, and then the little mini hedge maze just to the left. It's just, yeah, just a fun time. Anyway, let's get on with building this part of the beach. And this is something that I generally don't do. I'm not used to doing beach builds, honestly. But it's only since I've been recording islands that I've actually made a real effort to try and just decorate a little bit more of the island. But we're going to have just a little food truck area here. If I can place down the truck. But I have customized this so it's got a code. And it's going to be a little ice cream, like sundae bar, if you will, from a food truck. And any of the codes I've used, whether it be the flooring, obviously this ice cream, or the picnic blankets and things, I'll make sure the creator codes are in the description, so if you fancy checking any of them out, then yeah, feel free. Would highly recommend. Like I said, I think what people do are just incredible, and they're so creative. They make the islands just really pop, and yeah, I just wish I had the talent to do the same kind of thing. That being said, I'm struggling to place down this wheat field. Fabulous. That's where I wanted it. And I've also got a barrel with a little bit of food item. So I think it's the pickled herrings or pickled mackerels or something like that. I don't actually remember. Whatever it is called in the game. What is it? Sardines in oil. Okay, and let's make sure I place it and don't show it off. I don't want to necessarily, you know, slap the things into your face with the fanfare. Again, that's a classic Tofu move. Usually with any of the food items, I kind of show it off instead of placing it down. So it's always embarrassing when I do that. Much like me placing down this fence in the same place 3 times in a row. My god. But yeah, I just wanted this small area for just kind of light dining. And it makes sense just in front of the campground. So when you're visiting the island, you can obviously come here, just have a little snack, enjoy the waves, you know, the ocean vibes. Everything's really just chill. I have a couple of Festivale lamps, and I love the yellow and green colorization on them. And I think it really suits well for this particular area of the island as well. Obviously, the campground and everything, there's lots of green. And yeah, it just works. And I did like playing the Festivale event as well, so there was just more incentive to actually do that and collect all the items. Naturally, being a chill space to obviously have a snack or two, we're going to be having a couple of these bistro tables, and I thought the ranch chairs just kind of fit nicely as well. In fact, I'm just going to pull that back so it actually, yeah, it looks like it's in the middle of the table. But I've made sure with the bistro tables that I haven't just got the same colours, so there are, when I can place them down anyway, there are 2 different shades. So we've got the dark wood there, and then we've got the lighter wood. And I just like mixing it up. It kind of gives the feeling that, not ramshackle because that's too harsh of a word, but they've kind of collected the furniture as and when they were, you know, got the money to do so, when they had the time. So they're not naturally going to be matching. So that is obviously our little ice cream truck area. We're going to move over to here, and much like the Teddy Bear's picnic next to the campground, we're going to have just a small picnic area with a kids tent just to the right hand side here. But firstly, we're going to throw down a clothesline. And this can be something that, you know, if you're using the campground and you just need to wash your clothes, whatever, you can obviously place it down on this clothesline here. Another little kids tent, which again, I absolutely love the item. It's just fantastic. We are going to have a few spaces to obviously sit down. In fact, I've got a cooler box, so let's just put these things down first. Like I said, I do try and put things in order as to how they would go in the builds, just to make it kind of less frustrating that I don't have to flick through the entire inventory trying to look for a very specific item. But sometimes I get a little bit ahead of myself. Anyway, now here we have the few items in which we can obviously sit down. I do have a little twangoid boy here, so one of my favourite gyroids, just because he's really pleasing. Just when you hear the little twang sound, and like, I do have a couple of guitars, so maybe that's kind of why I'm quite partial to that boy. Naturally, if we've got the campground, and obviously there's plenty of these kid tents, and I imagine this would just be quite a nice place to play, so we're going to have a sand castle. Again, one of my favourite items, and really just looks good on the beach. They've really done well with matching the colour. You do have a lighter sand variant of the sandcastle as well, which I don't think works as nicely. It would be nice if you got different shades of sand. I suppose it would work really nicely then, but yeah, it doesn't quite match these beaches, unfortunately. Anyway, enough rambling about sandcastles. I am going to place down a few weeds and a few flowers and things, just really make the beach seem like quite a natural space. But I have learnt my lesson from previous builds, and I'm going to place down transparent code just around the weeds to make sure that they don't spread, because they can definitely spread on the beach. And it's definitely one of those places that I tend to forget that I've put a weed or two, and then I'll come back after, time skipping, whether I'm trying to do builds or villager hunt or whatever it is. I'll then revisit a beach space, and then it'll be absolutely overrun, and yeah, that's just not cool. Oh look, and we've got Stella just coming to inspect my work and bother me, because apparently, yeah, bothering me over in my previous build wasn't enough. Oh, I love you, Stella, but stay out of my way. No, she's fine. She can do what she wants. So let's place down these coconut trees that I've got before I do anything else. And I don't want to overrun the beaches too much with the coconut trees, but I like putting down a few just to make it seem like there's a bit of life. And obviously, much like before, a pink dot for a stunted tree, so let's put this last one here. I do like adding just stunted trees to give variations of height. Like, obviously not all trees are going to grow in the same rate, so yeah. We'll put down another coconut tree, or another coconut just behind it to make sure that it's stunted. And we'll just place a few various bits of weed and plants around. Again, giving it that natural look. Let's put the remaining wheat field I've got here, because that's as good a place as any, honestly. And let's randomly dot some more weeds around. And obviously, I'll place down the transparent codes in a minute. Stella, I want a weed right where you're standing. Even when you love them so much, they can still get on your nerves. So that does it for my mini beach build. Obviously Stella was just checking out the table and the coffee and whatever, but we have this little dining area right next to the campground. Plenty of trees and weeds and things. I am going to have to put the transparent codes around the weeds, like I said. And another little mini picnic area with a tent very close to the previous campground and teddy bear picnic. So guys, I'm going to call today's episode here. Thank you so much for joining me for these couple of mini builds and just edging ever closer to me completing Sheep Island. Hopefully you enjoyed everything I did, and if you did enjoy, please hit like and consider subscribing if you haven't done already. Hopefully I'll see you in the next couple of videos, in which I'm hopefully going to have an entrance build for my rainbow themed island sorted, and that'll be recorded, one I can actually get inspiration. But I also have a trivia video in the works, so hopefully I'll see you for that one. But until those videos, I want to say a massive thank you so much. Obviously, hope to see you again, and until next time, have a good one. Cheers guys, see you later.